My name is Jack Logue. I'm the executive chef and a partner at the Lambs Club here in Manhattan, New York. I've been a chef for about 20 years. My journey started when I was 18. I was very much into the business side of restaurants. I'd worked as a busboy and a dishwasher at one of my friend's mother's restaurants, and I really wanted to explore having restaurants of my own one day. And I was in business school in Colorado, and all my professors kept saying the first rule of business is you need to know your product inside and out. And enough times after I heard that, I realized I didn't know how to cook. And how could I ever think that I could be in a restaurant without knowing how to cook, or at least knowing how to control those things? So I dropped out of school at 18 and moved to Italy. I went to a culinary school out in Italy. It's called the Gualtiero Marchesi. It's called Alma. And I spent 2 years in Italy, 1 year for school, 1 year working in a tiny restaurant in the middle of nowhere in the foothills of Ponte dell'Olio. It was a Michelin star restaurant. There was 4 of us who worked there. I lived at the restaurant, worked for free, got yelled at a lot. Had to learn Italian just to understand what I was learning, but it was a really amazing experience, and it sort of set me off on the next 20 years of my career. After that, I worked at Restaurant Danielle for about 4.5 years in the city. We were 3 Michelin stars. Some of the best and most talented chefs I've ever worked with were in that kitchen. I was the youngest person in that kitchen, just getting beat up every day and learning from it. And then from there, I went to Australia. Worked at a restaurant called Rockpool. We had 3 hats while I was there for 2 years. And in that capacity, I was a junior sous chef, so I was kind of moving up the ranks slowly but surely. And then finally, I was put into contact with somebody named Bryce Schumann, who was the executive sous chef of Le Masson Park at the time. He was opening up a new restaurant in New York City. It was called Bettany, and I was asked to come and be his number 2. And so for 4.5 years, we had a pretty amazing restaurant in the city. That was a really, really great, wonderful part of the culinary scene here in New York. Fortunately, we had to close in the end of 2016. At which point I took a little bit of time for myself. I went to Tokyo for a while, Hong Kong, a little bit of time in the Dominican Republic and Cancun, as well as in France, and sort of feeling much more refreshed about where I was at with food, really falling in love with food and the kitchen and the grind of the kitchen. From there, I took the position as the executive chef of the Clock Tower and the Edition Hotel. We were able to achieve Michelin star there and keep it for 4 years, which was pretty amazing. Then, unfortunately, like with everyone else in the world, COVID and the pandemic happened. Restaurants and hotels were no longer open, and I found myself finding other different projects. I helped somebody open up a restaurant in Tribeca. I designed the kitchen, did a lot of the engineering for it, did a lot of the stuff for the design work for the restaurant itself. Learned a lot in that experience in that time. A lot of things I actually end up using now that I never really thought that I would, when it comes to refrigeration and electrical and mechanical and all the opposite things that are not the romantic side of the restaurants. Everybody wants to talk about the romance of the creativity of the cuisine and the food. But sometimes you have to really know some brass tacks trades as well. And then from there, was able to be put in touch with some people who wanted me to do the opening of Delmonico's here in the city. Those same people were also talking with the Lambs Club, and I found myself at the Lambs Club helping them reopen after COVID. Met Chris, and we decided that we had a really great partnership, and we wanted to take over the Lambs Club ourselves. And so we were able to put together some presentations and some menus and concepts of what we wanted to do with it. And if you've ever been to the Lambs Club, it's one of the most iconic spaces in New York City. It was built in 1905 by Stanford White, renowned architect, notorious architect as well, but renowned for Madison Square Garden, the Washington Square Arch, the first ever building in Times Square. And this was his last commissioned project, was the Lambs Club building. So there's a lot of really true New York history. As a born and raised New Yorker myself, I really fell in love with that. And for my first restaurant to have as a partner and as, of course, the chef to be in the heart of New York City, it's a really, really special and amazing thing for me. We do have a sort of overarching ethos here, which is elevated and fun takes on American classics, but through a New Yorker's lens. I do think that gives you a lot of broad canvas to put on, because New York has so many different walks and so many different perspectives and so many different cuisines, but we do want to focus on honoring the Americana that came before us. I do have a lot of experience with Asian cuisine, so there's a lot of Eastern influences and flavors that are sort of layered there in the background, but it's much more Western presenting. The plating styles is much more Western. The overarching themes are much more Western. We focus on local seasonal ingredients. I'd say about 2/3 of the menu changes and evolves seasonally, and about maybe 1/3 of the menu is sort of staples that we like to keep on. We do believe that there should be some things that guests think about and want to come back to the restaurant, and that they are on the restaurant, on the menu, so that there is always something to look forward to. Some restaurants just change everything all the time, and we do feel that this is a place that we want to honor, like the icons and the iconic nature of it. So some of the dishes should stay. Same with some of the cocktails. We have the same philosophy in the cocktail list as well. Same with the desserts. So some things will always be on the menu, and some things we want to change with the seasons. New York has some of the best produce, some of the best farmers and local farms in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and the Hudson Valley. So we really want to honor that as well and work together with those purveyors and farmers and fishmongers to get the best possible quality product. I think one of the most humbling challenges of being a part of such an iconic property that has been around for over 100 years and also has been a restaurant in the past under some other groups and teams and chefs is to truly try to honor the original ethos of what the Lambs Club was. It was actually built as a theater club to be a haven for Broadway actors and actresses. It started in Soho in London, and it was commissioned by Charles Lamb this was the first one in the city. And the original purpose of the Lambs Club was to give people who had been spending their entire days and weeks entertaining others an opportunity to come and feel like they were actually the ones being taken care of. And we really try to honor that here. We work very closely with the Broadway community, but we also work very closely with the Bryant Park community, the offices, the buildings, the Times Square Alliance, the Times Square community, and we want people to be able to come here and feel like they are being taken care of in every single way. Hospitality is our primary goal here, whether it's with the food, obviously our wine list, which we're going to talk about, I think, in a little second. But again, it's really about the service, and not service from a technical standpoint, service from a standpoint of making people feel something, making people feel emotion, making people, if they're having a bad day, maybe they can have one drink and have a good day. If they're having a great day, maybe we want to celebrate and have it be a night that they'll never forget. I think at the core of everything for us, hospitality rules all. And even with the cuisine, we do want the dishes to evoke some form of nostalgia. Our bar menu, for example, it's all plays on sort of food that we had as a child. So whether it's a foie gras peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or a Philly cheesesteak hot pocket, or our little chicken nugget bites, or lobster roll, or our smoked salmon everything bagel cones, something that you're going to think about something when you had it as a kid, but done in a more elevated sense. So now you feel like maybe you're growing up with the times a little bit. For me, this has been awesome to learn from Chris and to work with him and see how he builds out such an amazing, expansive list. I think when we took over the restaurant, there were around 200, give or take, labels on it, and now we're almost at 600 labels in only the span of about 3 years. So it's really impressive to watch that growth and to see how calculated it's been, focusing on different regions at a time, not trying to do everything at once. Our Burgundy selection specifically right now is up to, I think, almost 200 labels, 195, give or take. But it took time, it took years, it took finding the right things, picking the right bottles, and we really, really want there to be something for everyone on this list. I think of all things, that is one of the most core principles of it. So there are actually a lot of affordable bottles on the list. There are also a lot of very expensive bottles on the list. There's something for somebody who wants to go out and have the perfect, white Burgundy for a wine because they just really enjoy it and they will spend whatever on it. Or there's something for people who absolutely need that Cali Cab and they have an expense account and just want to go for it because they just want that big, bold wine. The Bordeaux section is huge. As I said, Burgundy is huge. We have a really nice Italian section as well. And a lot of the wine is cultivated not just for the wine, but also how it does pair with the food, how it does go together. There's been some really interesting ones that we have, even some NA wines, some non-alcoholic wines that we're starting to taste together just to be a part of that as well. But it always has to be something that when we taste it, will this go with the food? Like, does this make sense for the restaurant as a whole? It's not just about the wine on its own. We've gotten 2 glasses from the Wine Spectator, which is a testament to, how much they perceive Chris's program as well, which is really awesome. And we actually have a fun thing coming up soon that has to do with wine. We're opening up in less than 2 months, which is getting a little scary. We're opening up a wine window in Times Square. It's going to be the first of its kind in New York City and one of the first in the country altogether. We're shooting for around June 1st opening, but we're going to combine Italian style, sandwiches and panini and salads and the pasta of the month, gelato, espresso, Peroni on tap, and then we're going to have some really, really amazing wines. And it's going to be a proper Florentine style wine window with an Italian grotto right in the middle of Times Square, so people can come, they can get their picture taken in the background of Times Square, hand in the wine window, and go sit down in the middle and have a little garden party with the rest of New York City. So we're really excited about that as well. It's a great question, and I think at our one of our core principles that we both really believe in, Chris and myself and the rest of the team at Lambs Club, is under promise, over deliver. Something that, I learned from Danny Meyer, Daniel Hume, Daniel Balud. Under promise, over deliver is sort of at the core of what we do across the board. When you come in for the food, you don't necessarily expect, especially if you're going for a pre-theater meal or a business meal, the quality that it's going to be. But we love that, because then people are now, wow, I want to go back there again, and I want to bring my parents. I want to bring a date. I want to celebrate a birthday or an anniversary. Same goes for the wine list. And Chris and I talked early on in our partnership about a philosophy for it, and we wanted people to be able to drink these amazing wines that we've only been privileged to drink because of our 20 years each in the industry, sipping tastes or having somebody say, oh, bring a glass to the chef or whatever it might be. We wanted a list that has some of the best wines in the entire world, not just the country or even the city, that also you could still not break the bank just to drink. And, yes, does that mean some of the margins are significantly lower than other restaurants in the city? Absolutely. But for us, the whole point is these are there to be consumed, not just to live in a cellar forever and be able to be on a piece of paper and get awards. It's the consumption is the most fun part about it, and watching somebody drink that and pair it with the food and see the evolution of that experience is just as important as anything. And we want to be the place where people go to experience these wines and have these wines and to do wine dinners. We do a lot of wine dinners and pairings and stuff like that. And isn't that the whole point? We're two basically 40-year-old men who've grew up in this industry and don't want to stop anytime soon, but we also don't want it to be this whole thing where nice wine is only isolated to either the rich and powerful and or people with a business card, a corporate card. We want people to be able to go out and be like, you know what? I wasn't going to spend $220 on a bottle of wine, but now that I know that bottle really costs $400, that actually sounds a lot more palatable to me. I would love to experience that, and I think that's a great feeling. And we have some amazing guests who really do appreciate it. And some people don't realize how good the prices are on our list, honestly, and that's not for everybody. But the ones who do, they immediately see, wow, these are some steals. And so I think that's a real point of pride for us that Chris is able to source it, then also that we're able to sell it like that and still run a successful business and enjoy that element to it, but also give exposure to the wines.